Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, somewhere in between. Welcome to a little slideshow presentation of the Norris Ecumenical Youth Group's summer mission trip, which we took at the end of May into the very beginning of June, Memorial Day weekend on. I couldn't tell you the exact number of kids we had. 12 kids, Amy Bakelitz and myself, and you will hear about where we went and what we did during the week, as well as what each of the kids learned something during that week. And I was going to start out by thanking you, the three churches, the Norris Religious Fellowship, St. Francis Episcopal Church, and Norris United Methodist Church, for your continued support for these youth. I have a couple quick questions I want to ask as I kind of look through these first few slides. The things that I wanted to talk about that the kids didn't mention in their slideshow was that every evening we got together and we had a Bible study, a worship experience, a critical thinking session, an educational experience, and they were very foundational. This was our guide for the week. This is Chad. This is his fourth year. He's a seminary grad. It's a fourth year leading this ministry called DOOR, and teaching us about issues around justice and poverty and homelessness and hunger and food. And the kids did a great job. They listened, they participated. Sometimes we were silly. That's Echo and Anna there. How could you not know that wasn't Anna? Anna, I think what were you, Anna, in this particular situation? Anyone remember?
I think she was a beggar.
She's being herself, I think. She's being a beggar. She's a beggar. And Echo is an unforgiving master, I think. Here are the two kids that you won't know. This is Edie and Hattie. They're from my church in Knoxville, and they have gone with us on the last two mission trips. And they also are participating along with Stephen with some exciting and creative Bible study. We also had a few interns, and I think Eddie will mention a little bit about what those interns were. And they helped, our 4 interns, and they helped guide our week together as well. But here's my question as I think about it. Raise your hand if you intentionally, on a very regular basis, my grandmother did it every morning, do a devotional. Might be upper room, or something like that. Some version of the upper room where you open it up and there's maybe a piece of scripture to read and then some thoughts and perspectives and maybe a prayer. So there's about 4 or 5 of you, and you were less than young, I think, less than young. Raise your hand if you intentionally, on a very regular basis, pray out loud at your meal with your family. Okay, a larger group of you, a slightly broader age range. That's great. Raise your hand if you have a Bible somewhere near where you sleep, like on your bedstand or something that you can get to easily, and maybe you look at it and read it on a regular basis. Okay. Again, a fairly broad age range, which is pretty impressive, actually. The reason I bring that up is because in our culture, we spend less and less time intentionally focusing on our faith outside of this 1 hour. We don't, as a culture, pray as often as we used to. We don't teach our children to pray as often as we do. We don't pray with our children as often. We don't sit around and read scripture, nor do we, in our normal day-to-day interaction with our kids and our family, say, well, you know what Jesus said? Or let me tell you about my faith. Or the reason I do this is because of my relationship with God. We, less and less, are using our own personal and explaining and sharing our own personal piety, personal relationship in a public way. And this has been filtering down over the last 3 generations, little bit by little bit by little bit. There's fewer and fewer and fewer of us doing these things, such that the modern generation is not really even equipped sometimes to have these conversations and to have dialogue about spirituality and faith and how that has an impact in how we live our lives. What jobs we do, what we wear, where we shop, where we give our money, how we spend our time. There is no part of our lives as followers of Jesus that is not encompassed by the reality that we follow Jesus Christ. But we have a hard time sharing that reality with our closest people because we're very private about it. And what we try to do in youth group and on mission trips is pull it out of the closet, is not be private about it. Is say, hey, no, reading Proverbs, as we did Sunday, and trying to put Proverbs into our own lingo is a good experience because we want you to think about how the Bible and the words in the Bible and the teachings of Jesus and beyond affect your daily life. How does the Proverbs make an impact in what you do in the hallways of school next week? And does it? So what you are doing and what we're trying to do with the kids because of your support is make that happen. Because reality is they're not doing it in many other places. If you are a parent or a grandparent who does teach your kids to think, we would say theologically or spiritually, intentionally Christian spirituality, good for you, and that's fantastic. Keep doing it. But a lot of us don't do it very well. And therefore, your ministry to them is all the more important. All the more important. So I thank you. And they're trying and learning how to take what we do really well in our churches, which is serve. It's something we do really, really well. And say, we serve because of a dude named Jesus and what Jesus did. That's what we're trying to create, that bridge, all right, with our youth group and in a lot of what we do. So I'm going to turn the program, that's more of where we've studied, over to Eddie, who's going to start us off with kind of an overview of what DOOR is.
DOOR is discovering opportunities for outreach and reflection. And in DOOR, well, there are not three things, there's two that I mentioned. There is Discover for groups who participate in coordinated weekend and week-long trips designed to challenge them to see the face of God in the city as they spend time listening, volunteering, worshiping, and reflecting on their experiences, which is what we did. We were Discover. And the people like Chad and the other people, like the chaperones there, were discerners who went around the area and helped for 3 to 12 months developing leadership skills and exploring vocational possibilities. And we stayed at a church where DOOR was located. It was like a Presbyterian church. It was like a Presbyterian church, had a really pretty chapel in it. And we went and we went around the community helping the lower classes and developing countries to get things that they needed, like clothes and books. You will learn more about these during the presentation. I personally felt that I was really open to what happens to some people and what we can do to help homeless and the people in poverty. It may be a huge problem, but it can be solved if we work together and understand.
This is the Gateway Center that we did the first day on Monday. The first photo is us walking to the Gateway Center where we saw a lot of homeless on the street. And the next photo is us on looking at a whiteboard where we learned a lot about the homeless community. This is us sorting a bunch of clothes for their clothing closet where the homeless can get clothes at. One thing that I really learned about this trip is just because you don't like it doesn't mean they won't like it too.
On the second day of our trip, we went to an American Orthodox church called St. John the Wonder Worker. And in that church, they had a program called the Loaves and Fishes program, which was a program for things like breakfast for the homeless or people just moving out of homelessness, help getting into a job, like maybe you want to start your own landscaping business, they might give you a loan. They also had Alcoholics Anonymous meetings too, for people suffering from alcoholism. Now, the writings up behind me are not my personal experiences. They are Echo's, who is not here today. Sorry. My personal experiences were that whilst they seemed very open to having people come in and help with things like breakfast or serving, they, on the inside, still very much wanted to do it all themselves, because they had a fighting sort of leadership between the lady who worked down in the kitchen and the man who ran everything. Caused some issues. But overall, it was a very well-organized process. I know some of the kids had issues with how it was run. I just found it to be chaotic in a little bit. There's some slides of Fritz with one of the patrons of the Loaves and Fishes program, and of the kids serving breakfast. They serve things like eggs and bacon and pastries and salads donated from local restaurants.
Another place we went to was Action Ministries. As part of a huge Methodist church, and served food in a restaurant style. It was only for women and children in poverty. And after we finished serving, we ate the leftover food, which was really good, and these collard greens that Miss Betty made, the only cook there, were my dad's favorite. And I learned that serving food in a restaurant style was less awkward for the servers, but it might have been more awkward for people eating. It kind of felt like we were staring at them, just sitting there.
All right, I'm going to try to show a video here. We'll see if I got it. So, what do you think about this? Tell us about what we did Saturday.
taking the mic off the stand. So on the second day that we were in Atlanta, we did 3 things, and the last thing that we did was go to MedShare. It's basically, well, when we got there, we had to watch this little video, and it basically explained what MedShare was and what they do, and basically what their whole premise of their organization is they take a bunch of boxed up medical supplies that are donated or that hospitals don't want and they won't use, and they'll take them and they'll rebox them into just cardboard boxes, and they'll send them to third world countries in Africa that otherwise might not need them. It was a really interesting experience because we were talking to the main guy that oversaw it. His name is Dr. Bayor. He said that something as little as a pack of syringes or a pack of gauze could help an entire village. So having a box full of stuff and knowing that you're contributing a box full of medical supplies to a country, and you don't really think about how much you could impact them, but it's really nice to think about at the end of the day when you've done all this stuff and packaged all these boxes that you're really making an impact, and these are going to a good cause and they're going to help a lot of people. One of the things that was tedious about this whole thing was when you package the boxes, you had to open the boxes, see what was in it, and if you had a small item, you might need a small box, or if you had a big item, you might need a large box, but you would determine what size box you need, and then you would pack it all in there, and it was kind of like a puzzle. It was pretty fun, but it was kind of frustrating. And when you got all it done, if you got it in there nicely, you could close the lid, and then we had to take it up to Dr. Bayor, we had labels on, and he would make sure we wrote the right label. And that was probably the worst part about it, because if you didn't get the label exactly right, then you had to take it back and redo it. I ended up doing that a couple times, but it was a really fun experience for all of us. Another thing was, I said this a lot at the evening devotions that we did, and at some of the Bible studies, that this mission trip was a lot different than the other ones that we've done. All the other ones that we've done have been service projects, and we've been sorting clothes or building like a wheelchair ramp. We did that for our first one, I think, but this one has been more hands-on, working with people, and it was really empowering and uplifting. I'm sure to all the other people that were with us, but it was definitely empowering to me, and it just it kind of showed that even if you don't feel like you are making a bigger impact than you are, you probably are making a bigger impact. And I thought it was a really good experience for me and for all of us in the youth group.
We ended up going to Books for Africa for about half a day, I think. And Books for Africa is an organization dedicated to providing books to people who would otherwise not have access, which is nearly 1/3 of the world right now. They take books that would have been thrown out. No.
You can do it. You can do it.
They take books that would otherwise be thrown out by libraries or schools or just people, and they send them over to third world countries. And they're currently the largest shipper of donated text and library books to the African continent. I had a lot of fun at Books for Africa just because it was a cool place in general, but the director was very enthusiastic about his work, very happy to tell us what they were doing and how to get things done. Sorry. They had a really big warehouse just with lots of books. There's boxes everywhere filled with books, and some of them about to be shipped out, some of them just donated. And we were split into groups of 2 and given carts, and we would wheel around, pulling books out of these massive cardboard boxes and just,
sort them into age groups, categories, and genres, and sense. Some books could not be shipped because they were irrelevant, like they were about U.S. presidents, and no one's going to want that if you're in Africa. Or they were workbooks, or just in bad condition to where they couldn't be used. It was really fun to see all the different kinds of books that you would go through, and all of them just pretty much everyday things. I saw some books that I have on my own shelves, but you'll see one random book, and then there's piles of this one kind of just something you'd never seen before. Just 50 workbooks sitting in a box, and you have to throw them all away. But yeah, it was really cool to see all the stuff they were doing and spend half a day there. The warehouse was really big, and we took a couple pictures. People sorting the boxes. People are standing next to the boxes we would go through and sort things through.
Feed the Hungry was a food pantry, and people who were in poverty or experiencing homelessness could come and get food if they were in need. It is run by a mother who has empty nest syndrome. She just needed somebody to nurture and take care of. It was really run down, and we could barely find it, and we didn't even know if it was the right place. Even though its physical state was not great at all, it was really well run. There was also tons of food. These are some photos that show how much food there was. The first two are people packaging meat, and the last one is people handing out meat. This is my personal experience. It was great. I was handing out meat to people, and they could get one bag of chicken or chicken nuggets, and one bag of each of the other meat that was out. Everybody was smiling and was very grateful. There was also tons of food. Under our table, there were at least 10 more boxes of fried chicken and chicken nuggets. Some other members of the youth group were packaging meat, and they kept bringing us more fried chicken. I was happy that these people who were at the bottom of society had food, especially because some of them had young children and large families that they needed to protect and give food to. One thing that I learned from this experience was that you should only give people something that you would want to receive.
So on the last day, we went to Mercy Church, and basically we just made relationships with a lot of the people experiencing homelessness there, because that's one of the most important steps in what people in Atlanta do, is just making friends with other people. And we didn't know that we were supposed to bring lunches. We didn't know that we weren't supposed to bring lunches, so we actually gave them away to the people experiencing homelessness, and then ate soup on the sidewalk with those people as well. And I saw God in everyone's eyes, just being so thankful that we were there and making friends and everything. And we had a lot of conversations, and there was a really long Bible study, and we sang a bunch of songs. And what I learned is that we often forget how privileged we are, and we often forget that sense of thankfulness that these people experiencing homelessness, we forget to carry that with us. And I think I had a couple of conversations around me with the people in Mercy Church, and then I kind of took a step back and was looking at everybody else having conversations, and it kind of made me question, like, why do we hate? And a lot of the people, obviously not us, but a lot of people around the world are mean to people experiencing homelessness, and I don't really think that that's necessary. And it kind of made me question, why am I a person, why are you a person, but not the person experiencing homelessness? So that's about it. And then this is some street art that I found, and we were walking down the sidewalk to eat soup, and I just thought it was really cool. And then this is the art room in Mercy Church, and it's where all of the people experiencing homelessness gather, and on a couple of the days they do art and talk about things. So.
So that's not good. So the Center for Human and Civil Rights was where we went for the second part of our first day in Atlanta, and it, of course, the museum about all the civil rights movements and how our semi-free world exists today. So at the center, we learned a lot of things about past movements and their varying success, and that there are quite a lot of movements going around all over the world, including here, for civil rights, and how even the one that happened in the 60s, it's not over. There's still lots of gaps there. But we also learned that there are people out there who are just going to be hateful. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's just going to be hateful. But there's also going to be people who are going to be nice and who are going to combat that hate. So that was a good thing that the museum taught about. Also, it had a lot of really good examples of what racism felt like. That's a video. Okay, so these are some pictures of the civil rights movement. But I think my favorite picture is the one in the bottom left-hand corner, and that's this sit-in counter. And you sit down at this 50-style counter. You put on these headphones, put your hands on the counter, and in the headphones it plays sounds from those sit-in movements, and how there'd be people in the background insulting you, delivering racial slurs, calling you pretty horrible things, and you'd have to sit there. And it really helped me to experience what these people went through, and put me in awe as to how they even stayed put and continued their protest. Just amazed me. But the rest of the center was absolutely amazing and totally worth our time. So it was good.
I got another video. Bear with me.
slide. I just wanted to. It's not me. I just wanted to thank all the parents for letting your kids come with us. We had a great time. The kids talked about all the work that we did, but we also had a good time. They didn't, you guys, none of you talked about the fun things. On Wednesday, we had some free time, and we went out to eat pizza, which was a really good day, and then we went to Centennial Park, where the Olympics was, and played in the fountains and watched a light show. And in the evenings, the discerners, if I got the right word, organized some games for us. So we played card games, and Foursquare was the favorite of all the games. We were staying in a big gymnasium, and then I also wanted to say that this is an ecumenical youth group, and it's good to see all of you here. I know a lot of you, and I know we represent all the churches in Norris, and then some other people outside of Norris as well. Fritz is the pastor at Northside, and there were a couple of kids from his church on the trip. I was there from the fellowship. Laura Shields from the Episcopal Church helped transport us to Atlanta, and the Harshbargers from the Methodist Church helped transport us back. So just kind of a testament to how well our ecumenical nature is here in this community. And finally, the moment you've been waiting for, I'd like to invite all of you to stay. We're having an ice cream social, and so I hear that there's stuff, I think, to make banana splits and all that kind of stuff. So, and the kids are here. You guys know who they are. I'd like to encourage you to talk to the kids if you have other questions or just want to hear more of their stories. And come to our fellowship hall now and enjoy some ice cream with us. Thank you for coming.